Chapter 15A, Nutrition and Weight Control. My Pyramid is a food guide released by the United States Department of Agriculture to help plan a well-balanced diet. It's got 12 different pyramids based on age, gender, and level of activity so it can be personalized. My Pyramid can be found at www.mypyramid.gov. A healthy lifestyle includes choosing foods wisely, staying within your calorie needs, and engaging in physical exercise. Food provides us the necessity for cellular activities, for the building blocks for cell division, maintenance, and repair of our bodies, provides us with molecules such as vitamins needed to coordinate body processes, as well as water for cellular reactions in the proper cellular environment. A nutrient is a term used to describe a substance in food that provides energy, becomes part of the structure, or performs a function in growth, maintenance, or repair. Lipids, such as fats, oils, and cholesterol. 95% of the lipids found in food are triglycerides, and triglycerides consist of 3 fatty acids attached to a glycerol molecule. Fatty acids differ in their degree of saturation. Saturation is the extent to which each carbon in the fatty acid is bonded to as many hydrogen atoms as possible. A saturated fat contains all the hydrogen atoms it can hold. It's solid at room temperature, and most come from animal sources. Unsaturated fats can either be classified as polyunsaturated, meaning that it can hold 4 or more additional hydrogen atoms, or monounsaturated, can hold 2 or more additional hydrogen atoms. These are liquid at room temperature, such as oils, and come from plant sources. Functions of fat is that it's a ready source of energy. Fat contains actually 2 times as much energy per source as glucose. Fat provides us insulation, acts as a cushion for vital organs. It's a component of our cell membranes of the phospholipids. It's construction of the myelin sheaths that surround our axons of the neurons. Fats are required for absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K. And K, of course, is essential in blood clotting. Cholesterol is the structural basis for our steroid hormones, such as testosterone, estrogen. High-fat diets, though, have consequences and are associated with several factors that we see in society. High-fat diets are associated with obesity, with high blood pressure, arteriosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries, increases with blood cholesterol. High-fat diets also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, as well as associated with higher risk of certain cancers such as colon cancer, prostate cancer, or lung cancer. Also, high-fat diets are associated with increased risk of stroke. Low-density lipoproteins and high-density lipoproteins. Low-density lipoproteins are the bad form of cholesterol. They deposit cholesterol in the arterial walls. The high-density lipoproteins is the good form of cholesterol. It carries cholesterol from the cells and possibly arterial walls to the liver for elimination. Indicator of risk is that the ratio of total cholesterol to HDL's high-density lipoproteins should not exceed 4 to 1. Dietary fats, saturated fats are found in meat, butter, cheese, whole milk, and they boost these harmful low-density lipoproteins, so diet should be limited in the meat, butter, cheese, and whole milk, not to boost those harmful low-density lipoproteins. Trans fats is the terms used to describe when fats are formed when hydrogen ions are added to unsaturated fats such as oil to stabilize or solidify them, and these are found in packaged foods. These also boost the harmful low-density lipoproteins, as well as they lower the good high-density lipoproteins. So trans fats are even worse than the saturated fats. Dietary fats, monounsaturated fats, are found in oils such as olive, peanut, and canola oil, and nuts. They lower total blood cholesterol and low-density lipoproteins. Polyunsaturated fats lower total blood cholesterol and low-density lipoproteins. So this shows us examples of the saturated fats and trans fats which raise the risk of atherosclerosis and heart disease. The monounsaturated fats, the polyunsaturated fats, and the omega-3 fats, most should be these because these three lower the low density lipoproteins. Carbohydrates can be either simple or complex. Simple carbohydrates or monosaccharides and disaccharides include refined sugars such as candy, cookies, cakes, pies, sodas. They provide energy, but they have no other nutritive value. They have a lot of empty calories. Whereas the complex carbohydrates, like the polysaccharides, includes like starches and fibers such as wheat, rice, oats, corn, potatoes. They provide energy as well as other nutrients. So simple carbohydrates are really just empty calories because they provide only energy, whereas the complex carbohydrates provide energy along with other nutrients. Dietary fibers, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, dry beans, are found in the plants eaten for food. Humans cannot digest that dietary fiber. The benefits, it's good for the heart and the blood vessels because it also lowers these low density lipoproteins, but it does not lower the beneficial high density lipoproteins. It's good for digestive health because it helps to absorb water, making the feces easier to pass. Glycemic response is a term used to describe the measure of how quickly a serving of food is converted to blood sugar or glucose. Glycemic response is important as it influences how the body reacts to different foods. Glycemic index is a numerical ranking of carbohydrates based on their glycemic response and ranges from 0 to 100. Pure glucose is referenced by 100. Foods with a low value cause a modest, gradual increase in blood sugar and are recommended. Typically, these are high in fiber, such as whole fruit, brown rice, and whole grain fruits. High glycemic cause a sharp rise, sugar and starchy foods, quick rise in glucose levels, insulin secretion lowers, so it induces a hunger quicker. High glycemic is followed by fat formation and hunger. So we should keep our food choices in a lower range, and we won't be as hungry as quick, and also that will help reduce the risk for being overweight. Proteins are chains of amino acids that's digested and delivered to the cells. Human proteins contain 20 different kinds of amino acid. 11 amino acids can be made by the body, and 9 must be supplied by the diet and referred to as essential amino acids. Proteins, they can be either classified as complete or incomplete. Complete contain ample amounts of all the essential amino acids. These are found in most animal proteins. Incomplete proteins are low in one or more of the essential amino acids, and these are primarily in plant proteins. So complete proteins contain all the essential amino acids, such as we find in meat. Incomplete proteins lack one or more of the essential amino acids and typically come from plant sources. Complementary proteins are combinations of incomplete proteins from 2 or more plant sources that together supply ample amounts of all the essential amino acids. And so this is important in vegetarian diets, to have a variety of foods to ensure that we're getting all the essential amino acids. Vitamins or organic carbon-containing compounds needed in minute quantities. Typically, vitamins function as coenzymes and are categorized as either water-soluble or fat-soluble. There's 9 water-soluble vitamins, include C and various B vitamins. The fat-soluble vitamins include A, D, E, and K. Except for vitamin D, our cells cannot make vitamins, so we must obtain them from food. Minerals or inorganic substances essential to many processes, such as calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and chloride. Minerals are needed in fairly large amounts, and like vitamins, water-soluble minerals can be degraded in food preparation. Sodium is essential, although in high concentration can lead to high blood pressure. Sodium is found in many processed food products. Water is perhaps the most important nutrient, as it functions in transporting material through our bodies in the blood and in the lymph. It's the medium for chemical reactions to occur. It aids in lubricating and cushioning our organs and helps regulate our body temperature. It's recommended to intake 64 ounces of water a day. Humans can live without food for 8 days, but only 3 days without water. Water and fruit compose about half of the requirement. The remaining should not come from like carbonated drinks, caffeine, or alcohol. Carbonation interferes with water absorption, and caffeine and alcohol increase water loss in the urine because caffeine and alcohol inhibit that antidiuretic hormone. Using the information on food labels can help us to make healthy choices by examining the serving size, calories, and percent of daily values. And so it's important to note the serving size recommended, the number of calories that each has. It also should limit the note the fat content, the saturated, trans fat, and to limit those. Dietary fiber, need to eat enough of these nutrients. Make sure that it has protein and vitamins and minerals in it. The body requires energy for maintenance of basic body function, physical activity, and processing food that we've ingested. The basal metabolic rate is the energy needed strictly for maintenance, just strictly to survive. The basal metabolic rate typically represents about 60 to 75% of the body's energy needs, and it declines with age, thus should also reduce caloric intake as one ages. The basal metabolic rate is influenced by several factors, including age, gender, health, food intake, as well as genetics. Males typically have a higher basal metabolic rate. Males have more muscles and women have more fat content. One note the textbook made was that a man and a woman sitting watching TV, a male would require possibly 10 to 20% more calories just to do the same activity. Physical activity, the Dietary Guide for American recommends 30 minutes of moderate activity on most days of the week. Aerobic exercise such as walking reduces the risk of heart disease as well as acts to lower blood pressure. Weight-bearing exercise helps to reduce the risk of osteoporosis such as weightlifting. Regular physical exercise activity also helps to reduce stress and the risk of many chronic diseases. The body mass index, the BMI evaluates your weight and height, your weight in relation to your height, and provides an indicator of our body fat. Body mass index of greater than 30 is generally considered unhealthy and an indication of obesity. And this just shows the weight in pounds across the x-axis and the height across the y-axis, where areas where you would be considered underweight, healthy, and overweight. You can see under 18.5 is considered underweight. Between 18.5 and 25 is considered a healthy body mass index. Overweight between 25 and 30, and anything greater than 30 would be considered obese. This just shows trends among U.S. adults in the years between 1991 to 2008, and so it has been increasing. The Center for Disease Control estimates that 68% of Americans are overweight, and of this 68%, half of them, or 34%, would be obese. Health risk associated with obesity or disease of the heart and blood vessel obesity raises the total cholesterol levels and lowers those beneficial high-density lipoproteins. Also, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, gallstones, degenerative joint disease from carrying the extra weight, arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, and certain cancers such as colon, prostate, and lung. Successful weight loss programs usually include a reduction in the number of calories, an increase in energy expenditure, so it requires a behavior modification. Almost all dieters are motivated to slim down for cosmetic reasons. A pound of fat contains 3,500 calories. To lose a pound a week, you're going to have to reduce the calorie intake by 500 calories a day, or eat the same and increase the calorie used by 500 calories per day. So it takes 3,500 calories burned to lose 1 pound of fat. Approximately 60 to 90% who lose weight later gain it back. It's kind of the yo-yo effect, which can reduce the resting metabolic rate by as much as 45%. So once the weight is lost, the behavior modification should be in place not to have that yo-yo effect and gain that weight back. The number of calories per day, required per day, depends on activity level and age. Recommended ways to reduce calories are to reduce the fatty foods, avoid sugars, and increase foods high in fiber that allow us to have that full feeling. Weight loss can be dangerous. Being overweight is dangerous. Obesity can lead to health problems, but underweight can also be as damaging. Anorexia nervosa is a deliberate self-starvation. The body weight is 85% or less than expected for the height. Anorexia may include excessive exercise regimes where they just exercise continuously, and can also have consequences of severe bone health disease. Bulimia is where individuals take binges of eating large amounts of food followed by purging or followed by vomiting. A bulimic binge may last as long as 8 hours, where an individual may intake as much as 20,000 calories. Many bulimias also employ laxatives in their regime. Serious eating disorders can be fatal. They can affect esophagus in bulimia because of the throwing up and the low pH acidity of the stomach. Has consequences on the esophagus, can result in tooth decay, gum disease, dehydration, constipation, and electrolyte imbalance. So both are detrimental and can be fatal. This shows, of course, an individual suffering from anorexia. Without treatment, 20% of people who are anorexic die with serious eating disorders. Heart problems, the most common cause of death in anorexia nervosa. Hypoglycemia, both bulimia is hypoglycemia, which is low glucose, is found both in bulimia and anorexia nervosa. The brain depends on glucose, and without sufficient glucose can lead to unconsciousness and death. Negative effects of anorexia nervosa is poor bone health. The body will break down proteins it requires for energy. There's a reduction in mass of the skeleton and heart muscle, dehydration, and electrolyte imbalance. Negative effects of bulimia are the tooth decay, dehydration, constipation, esophageal injuries from the acidity of the stomach contents being thrown up,